So glad to have you back. I am Renata Del Carmen. As you know, we are kicking off our series of Balanced and Beautiful in 2021. There has been so much that has happened in the last year, and I think it is necessary for us to ground ourselves as we prepare for 2022. Yes, we are already thinking about 2022. And so I don't want to hold you because I am so excited for our guest today. Osa Bartholomew is an amazing woman, and I'm so excited to speak with her and to share more of her with you. If you do not know who she is, you are going to learn so much today. And so I want to tell you a little bit about Osa before I bring her on. She is an amazing woman. Osa holds 15 plus years of multi-industry experience in entertainment, fashion, and nonprofit industries. She's born in New York City and raised in both Brooklyn, New York, and Lagos, Nigeria. Yes, she is a queen, honey, a queen. She was born to Nigerian and Dominican parents. She grew up with a love for education, entertainment, and economic empowerment. She founded the Gift Agency LLC, offering talent and service management, coaching, and consulting for people, programs, and partnerships. A longtime champion for the principles of diversity and inclusion. By day, Osa serves as Chief Program Officer for an educational diversity initiative in the commercial real estate industry. Osa has been recognized by Real Estate Weekly as a rising star and leading lady in real estate. Queen, like I said, a top woman in CRE, commercial real estate, by the Real Estate Marketing Awards and Cranes New York 2021. Top notable Black leaders and executives. Did I say she was fly? Did I say she was fly? Okay, you will meet her. She currently serves on the board of Your Queens, the first 501c3 company, costume entertainment company, as well as Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Board member for Bizno Magazine and Commercial Observer. She is a wife and a mom of three, residing right here in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend, Osa Bartholomew. Hi, Osa.
Hey, Renata. How's it going? Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time because you are busy.
Yes.
You are busy.
Definitely making time for you.
I appreciate it. It's so amazing. Every time I read your bio and I'm like, oh, I know her. And she's awesome. And I know that you do so much and you do it so well and so effortlessly and so gracefully. And I admire you. You have to know that. I'm so excited to be able to speak to you today and just learn more about what you do and share with my friends. So tell us a bit about what inspired you to pursue your role in commercial real estate.
You know, it's so interesting. I always say, I don't think I pursued it. It sort of pursued me, you know, and it's a connection of my youth and growing up. You know, my parents were, they worked, they had day jobs, but they were also entrepreneurs. And they owned a retail business in Brooklyn, in Park Slope, Brooklyn. So after school, I would be at my parents' store, working with customers, learning about the business, just always being around other retailers. So that was like my first entrance to commercial real estate, seeing the changes in the neighborhoods whenever new businesses would come in or new developments would come in. I was always interested in that. I also became interested in real estate at a very young age. I loved brownstones, and I would do my research on the cost of brownstones and the value of it. But I also had a love for music and fashion. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, real estate looks good, but let me go over to this music thing and this fashion thing. So I never really paid attention to it. It was always on my mind, but never really did. And when I went to college, I was more focused on marketing and fashion and music, and I ended up doing that after I graduated. But I started to see, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I started to see a lot of changes around the area where my parents had their store. And around the end of my college year, they had to shut down the store because of the many changes there. The rent went up.
Yeah.
There was a lot of gentrification in that area. There was also a lot of new developments. The Atlantic Center was built, and then
Oh,
later
yes.
there was discussion about what to do with the Atlantic Yards. So at that time,
Yes.
I worked at a record label, Rockefeller Records, and Barclays Center was being built, and Jay-Z was part of the partnership of the Barclays Center. So my brain started to move, and I was like, okay, how can I implement my marketing skills into what this new Brooklyn is going to be? So I started to do my research on who the developers were, who were the people behind
Amazing.
building Atlantic Center and basically changing downtown Brooklyn. And when I went online and looked up the executive team, none of them looked like me. So right away, I became discouraged, and I never looked at it again. I was just like, all right, well, this is not for me. And I always tell people, whenever you're looking at a career, when you look at the executive team, look at that team to see where you could progress to. If you don't see a team that looks like where you could progress to, then that's not the place for you. So I think that's what it was in my mind. Like, nah, this ain't for me. I'll keep it going. But then years later, I went into the nonprofit world, and a recruiter reached out to me and he asked me, what would be the ideal position for you? And at that time, I started to have my interest in real estate, but I knew I did not want to sell.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about commercial real estate, but I knew there needed to be a change. And right away, I was like, I'm interested in real estate, but I'm also interested in diversity and inclusion. I don't know how you can put that together, but I would love to see how I can utilize my experience and make a difference within commercial real estate to bring more diverse talent into the field. And 6 months later, he reached out to me and told me about a position at a nonprofit, the International Council of Shopping Centers. And that's where I started managing a program that they support. And that program, the focus is to bring in more diverse talent to commercial real estate. And that's how I got into it. Just from me having that interest at a young age, and then, I guess things happening at the time that it's supposed to happen. And that's how I got into the program.
One, I'm sitting here like, wow. Two, I'm like, the amount of gems that you just dropped in just describing your experience so far, I really hope people are catching them, because one, it takes a lot of research to even shift industries. I know a lot of people, even now, post-pandemic, are considering if they even want to be in the career they had prior to the pandemic. And shifting your career requires a lot of research, but also the thing that I love is that your intention is so purposeful, like to take. For me, I hear that you've taken your parents' legacy and really developed it to ensure that the people that come after you or after your children don't experience what your parents experienced. So there's just like so much there that is just like awe-inspiring. So I am already like, whoa, amazing work. I still believe, speaking of the pandemic, that we are in the midst of a few pandemics, including like climate change, world hunger, racial injustices, health disparities around the world. But most pressing for people now is like the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still lingering. I feel like we're kind of in this weird space where it's like it's happening still, but we're outside anyway, right? So what through all of this has been the greatest shift you would say in the last year of your life that you believe is a direct result to COVID-19?
Well, I would say, prior to COVID-19, I was struggling with the amount of time that I spend with my children and my family.
Mm.
I had 3 kids in, what was it, every 2 years, every year and a half. Like,
Superwoman.
yeah. So, and even with that, as a career woman, I went right back to work. I worked up until it was time to go deliver, and
Wow.
then, I would do my, what was it, 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks maternity leave, and then go right back to work. So sometimes there was this guilt that came in where I felt like I never had that devoted time with my children. Granted, I'm still here to watch them grow, but it's a
Yeah.
combination of, work, kids, family. So around that time, I wanted to have more control of my time prior to COVID. I wanted to have more control of my time. And I had already put that plan together of, going into work at a certain, a couple of days a week, negotiating my time to be home at least once or twice a week. So that was
Yeah.
sort of working now, but I wanted more, because the
I feel that. Yeah.
kids were growing, and I really wanted to take more control of that. And, the pandemic happened, and it has definitely allowed me to spend more time with my children, with my husband, and with my family, all of us at home. And that has been quite an adventure. But I am so thankful for the opportunity to do that, because it's like, man, I've been home over a year just watching the children grow and flourish, and, working on my relationship with my husband and I, and learning our differences and trying to understand how to work around those differences too, So it has been a challenge, and we have had some losses, and it's so sad what COVID has done, but it has also breathed new air to life in itself, and one, appreciating life, but also understanding what to do with your time and what's valuable
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
And it has definitely made me more confident in how I utilize my time, and not to be afraid to ask for it either, even if you work for somebody too, or
Even
work
if
for
you work
yourself.
for somebody.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to negotiate. So that has been the blessing for me with the pandemic.
Yes, I totally relate to that. I think a lot of that has been a question I've been asked a lot over the past few months. And the same, like having time with my daughter that I don't think I would have had in this lifetime, to spend a whole year, every day,
Yeah.
all day, just watching her grow and learning who she is, right? Because she's a teenager now. And as a mom, it's hard to see your child go from diapers to high school, right? But I feel like I'm really understanding her more than I would have if I was still in the hustle or bustle, drop her off, run do this, pick her up, right? So yeah, I totally feel that. Speaking of all that you do, because as we know now that you are a woman of amazing talent and responsibilities, and when do you find time for Osa, and how do you create that time?
Oh, well, I will say that is one thing that I needed to work on. And I definitely did that. The first 6 months, I was just so focused on my children and my family and work. And I will be honest and say it, I put myself last. And then I started to notice my body was changing. I started to feel very, stressed out, and realized that, wait a minute, you forgot about you. So one thing that I did, thankfully with the access to even reaching out to medical professionals virtually, I took advantage of telehealth.
Yes.
I had appointments with everybody, dermatologists, endocrinologists,
Yes.
everything I needed to do. Like, let's do it. Let's have these calls. Let's check this stuff. I checked, I did a full physical, checked everything.
Amazing.
And then one thing I also did was invest in a physical trainer, a virtual physical trainer, because I needed that for myself. And that was the best decision I could ever make, because I saw the transformation and the change for me, and just giving myself at least 40 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week, just working out, and working on my health, working on my body, doing that. There's still some other things I could still work on, but day to day, just taking time, finding time for myself, and and just working closely with my husband too, for us to make sure we have time for us, even if it's the kids taking a nap, and let's just sit down and eat.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Have dinner, just to kind of recharge on that end, and I'm thankful for my support system, my mom, my sister. They've also been helpful in times that things are when it's just too much for me. They've been there to be helpful as well, but I'm still a work in progress on that end.
As we all are, right? I think people see social media allows us so much access to everyone's life, or as much as they share, and sometimes we see like all the amazing things, the work, the results, and we don't always see like what's happening behind the scenes. But 9 times out of 10, like, we are all falling short in some area. So balance obviously is always something to strive toward. I know this in my life is I have a lot going on, but it is nice to hear when women, especially our culture, and spanning across Caribbean women, American Black women, Spanish women, like, we are hard workers. And there comes this time where we feel like if we are not doing anything, like, something's going wrong, right? And so it's a great feat just to even say, I need to take this moment to ground and relax and enjoy and just be at peace and do nothing, and it's okay.
It's so important. Even just taking a nap.
Right. My daughter's like, you're always taking a nap. I'm like, power naps are the way to life.
I still need to do more of it, but recently my family and we visited some friends this weekend, and we were playing with the kids, everything was fun, we ate, and then all of a sudden I was like, I think I need a nap.
Right.
It just hit me, and I normally don't take naps, but I needed it at that moment, and I was so grateful. Like, I'm hearing the kids behind me running around, and they are there playing with my kids and their kids, and I was just so grateful for that moment, just to rest, and then after that I was recharged and like took over, like, all right, what do we need to do? But I just needed that moment, and I realized how important that is to do that as well.
Totally. That is so key. I love naps. If I want to do anything, go back to anything when I was a kid, it was nap time.
It was that. That is so funny.
So love and relationships. Love and relationships is actually what brought us here. This funny Instagram, I don't even remember what the Instagram, it was about women expecting men to like know and understand and plan and
planning the vacation and planning dinner. Like, nah.
A single woman can dream, can't she?
There are some men like that, but I wouldn't go in with that expectation that you would want your partner to do that, because that's not always the case. And it also isn't like a deal breaker either that they don't know how to do that. You do it.
Right. Right. So
You know?
let's talk about that because you are a married woman. You have 3
Mhm.
children. You are successful in all areas. In my eyes, you are thriving. Right. I don't care how you feel about it. For me, you are thriving. So, what would you say was the biggest misconception that you had as a single woman when
Mhm.
seeking out like dating and thinking about or pursuing marriage? What was your expectation? Because I want a man that plans, but you are slowly crushing that dream.
And you know what? If that is what you want, then hold on to that. But
Yeah.
also know what you want. Like, okay, you want a man that plans, but also know what does that planning look like, and
Yeah.
how can I help us to get there, right?
Yes.
Not just
Yes.
putting all of it on him to do it, but how can,
Agreed.
am I willing to maybe start it off the first few years? Because there are situations like that where
Yes.
it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to
Right.
be overnight. So I will say, for me, I always heard the saying, in two relationships, you bring your whole self and they bring their whole self and your whole.
That
Nah,
sounds like a whole lot.
yeah, there's no whole at all. There's still ongoing work every day during the
Yes.
courting stages,
Yes.
relationships, planning your future, showing the children come in. It's ongoing learning and relearning because, you're coming in with your history, your past, your upbringing, the way you've learned to do things. He's coming in with that as well. And that can often clash.
Yes.
What you may perceive as the right thing to do may not be in his eyes, and vice versa. So it's a matter of not only bringing your whole selves, but bringing your open selves together
Ah,
too, because you have to be willing to be open to change,
yeah.
and be open to what can work for both of you. And if you so choose to raise a family and grow a family, what can work for you all as a family as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no wholeness because I know there's still a lot of work. Another thing I also did too was sign up for therapy as well. And I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, therapy is good for everyone, whether it's individual, couples, family, whatever it is, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's so important to kind of recharge, work on some things that you may have confusion about, or just need clarity on as well, because like my therapist, she's a great therapist, but she's also like my organizer for me as well too. It's very weird. Like, she kind of helps me to kind of plan things a little better as well. So I'm a big proponent of that too. So yeah, that misconception of your whole self. There's no whole here. Even my parents have been married for over 40 years, and
Woo!
you know,
Amazing.
my dad always jokes that the first 10 years of their marriage, he was like, I didn't know what I was doing. He's like,
God bless him.
yeah, he was like, my wife was the one that kind of carried us through for those 10 years, but I was still growing and trying to figure it out. And I think that a lot of people need to hear that, you're not going to be experts by year 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. You're not going to be experts even at 15. You're
Yeah.
constantly learning every day. So you have to be open to that and be open to change as well.
Yeah, that is amazing advice. And I absolutely believe a lot of people need to hear and like process, right? Like
Mhm.
really process what that means for you and your pursuit of love and relationship and connection with another being and growing for like goals, 40 years of marriage. That is
Yeah,
goals that almost
yeah,
seems like a unicorn marriage in
yeah,
2021, right?
yeah, it
So
does. It really does.
yeah, that's amazing. Speaking of clashing, right? Because it happens in
It
relationship
definitely
and
does.
marriage. What would you say if you and your husband have differences, what would you say is your agreed upon way, if you have one, of how you resolve them or come to a compromise, mutual compromise or understanding?
Taking the time to listen,
Hmm.
and sometimes that may take a few hours before we get there because I may think I'm right and he may think he's right, and we're both trying to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
But when you really take the time to listen, you go back and say, why were we talking about this for 2 hours straight? Why don't we just get to the point of that? Like, just listen, like
Yeah.
lay your heart down, remove any of the ego and pride, like just let it out and just listen.
Yeah.
And agreeing to disagree sometimes at times, and realizing that even in your agreeing to disagree, you may even forget about what you were agreeing to disagree the next day, which happens a lot. For me, I'm like, whoa, what was the 3-hour discussion about? What was the point of that? Like, we could have been sitting down eating, we could have been Netflix and chilling, we could have been doing so many
Right.
other things instead of debating on something so silly, and that's one thing and it's something that I am learning myself too, is, oh, so you're not always right.
Shh, that's a secret. That's a secret. What would I always say?
You're not always right. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay to say, you know what? All right, I understand.
Yeah, I hear you saying a lot about being open and vulnerability, right? Like even in marriage, you can speak to this, how true you think this is, that there are times where we still have a guard up, especially if it's something that's triggering. And there's always the easiest way to resolve is to like be vulnerable and open, and that's hard, I think.
I think it's hard, because and I will speak, to myself as a Black woman. We always have to be almost on the defense all the time, having to like prove ourselves or show that we are capable of doing something, or someone not thinking highly of us being capable to do something. So that has been so ingrained in us to be defensive, and to hold on to, whatever it is we're feeling, and
So
not,
true.
that softness, and that's something that I'm also working on too. And I always encourage women, it's nothing wrong with being soft. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with just letting go. And, for me, because, I wear so many hats, I sometimes forget that. Like, it's okay to just bring it down, and also realizing that sometimes in your vulnerability, you win favor. You win favor, you win grace by being vulnerable. And
So good.
even if
That's
something
so good.
may not look like it's agreeable to what you thought, you actually win at the end by being vulnerable and letting go. So
I love that.
I definitely encourage that. And it's an ongoing process for me. So
Ongoing process for
yeah.
all of us. Speaking of that, if you could give, maybe that's it, but if you could give a single woman seeking marriage who also has a very demanding career, any advice, what would it be?
Imagine and act upon where you want to be now. Don't sit around waiting for it to happen. Believe that it has happened, and start to create that time for yourself. So one example I always give is, prior to me having my children, I had a very demanding job. And at one point, I realized that if I wanted to have the life that I wanted, I had to leave work on time. Right. And I started to do that. I said, you know what, Osa, you don't know who the man is. You don't know when these kids are going to come, but let's start manifesting that, that it's time to go home because you have to go home and get dinner ready. And I started to do that for myself. I started to change my behavior. So I say that to say, if it is your desire to be married or to have a partner, to have a mate, change your behavior to reflect that.
That is good.
You have to change your behavior to reflect that. So I literally would leave on time, go home, and make a meal like I'm making it for my family. Like I literally okay, I gotta go to the supermarket, I started to create that mentality for myself.
Osa, you said something right there, because the Bible, and people love this scripture, the Bible says, they love to say, the Bible says, a man who findeth a wife finds a good thing. But the reality is he found a wife. So she was already who he needed in operating as a wife, leaving work early, as you said, to go home and prepare a meal, because not saying that's all wives do, but if you want a husband, you have to be a wife.
You have to be a wife. And then also sit at the feet of others. And when I say sit at the feet of others, I had so many friends or folks from my church that were getting married or growing families, and I was all in it. Oh, you need help with this? What's going, and I would ask questions. I signed up for every newsletter you could think of pertaining to marriage, relationships. It's like I was in a training. Again, I didn't know who the man was, but I was in this training. Also, too, one thing I am really big on: get rid of distractions. If this person is not who you want in your life, cut them off. I'm big on that. I don't do nostalgia. Cut them off. Okay.
I love that. I don't do nostalgia.
I don't do nostalgia. I like a little thrifting here and there, but I don't do nostalgia. If that person was there for that moment, keep it moving. You don't need to go to lunch with them. You don't need to meet up with them after work. You see them around. Hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Have a nice life. Y'all don't need to hang out. No.
Taking up space.
They are taking up space. They are taking up space that does not need to be there. And I'm a big believer that when you have people taking up your space, it does not give God the room to bring something new in to your life. Trust that God will bring the right person. You don't need the hanger-ons. You don't need I'm going to hang out with them until the right person comes along. It's okay to be by yourself. It's okay to work on yourself as well too. Go pick up a book, go online, go on YouTube, prepare yourself, work on the things that if you saw a continuous pattern with your relationships, work on yourself and try to make sure that those things don't happen again. So I'm a big believer in that.
That is so good. And so necessary. Yes. I'm so glad. That is a wonderful piece of advice. I am definitely soaking it in, and I hope people share these jewels, because there's so much that floats around the internet through memes and gifs, and it's just no, that's not it.
That's not it. And sometimes I want to say something, but I'm just
I'm no, that's actually a bit petty, and it's not going to get you to goals. So
don't do it. Don't listen. Yeah, no, definitely.
Amazing gems for the toolbox. This has been lovely, and it's gone by so quickly.
I feel like done already.
I know. I feel like we only touched the surface on things to think about, practice, put into thought and process. And I'm so grateful that you have joined me today to be a part of this discussion. I think, as you've mentioned many times throughout these moments, that we are all work in progress, and we're always growing, and every level there's a new way to be and understand and be in relationship with others, whether it is in our career, with our families, husband, wives, children. So that is awesome. But before you go, I love Moral Dilemma, and I would love to play with you. So we'll do, I'm gonna randomly select a card, and we'll do, I guess what you would do.
Okay.
You guess what I would do. And then we reveal whether or not we are correct.
Okay. Let's do it.
And feel free to elaborate on your choice. Randomly selecting. Okay. Oh no. This is so awkward. Moral Dilemma is such a weird game. Okay, you are a man who has just been in a horrendous car accident. Though you're alive, you are in need of a very special organ transplant. The doctor gives you two choices. Do you take the penis that is so big it only fits inside one in every 10 vaginas? Or do you take the penis that is so small, women will hardly be able to feel it?
Oh, man.
This is a question for a man. I would say, I don't know. What do I think about Osa's ego? This is very much an ego question. And so if your ego was leading, I would say that you would be, regardless, you want the big penis. I think you would want the big penis. Oh God, Moral Dilemma. We were doing so good. It was so great and sanctified.
No, there's, are you done with yours?
Yes.
So, well, I mean, I think you take the big penis too.
I would definitely. I don't need to have sex with 10 people. I'm gonna believe that God is gonna send me the right vagina. That's exactly where I'm at with it.
Listen, as women, we know how to conform, so we could conform to that too.
Oh my God!
A small penis that, if the person can't even feel anything, that can affect you mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Whereas with the big one, at least you know that there is a chance that you will satisfy somebody, right. and you have your mentality and your confidence and everything else intact. So we got to go for big.
Yeah, go big or go home.
Go big or go home. So amazing. One. So there's a message behind that,
right?
There's a message behind that. Go big, even regardless of whether you can play yourself small. Don't play yourself small. Even if you think that you believe in the best of things will not get you what you want, or you having your vision of the type of relationship that you want, the type of lifestyle that you want, dream big. Because when it's time for you, it's time for you. So there's a message in the big penis. Okay.
Oh my God. Amazing. Right? Like, we are so dynamic, and I am so happy. Like, I've never in my life been more happy to be Black than in 2021. Yes. Like, if I just think we turn everything into whatever we want it to be. Yeah. I need people to know that we are capable, right? We are so capable. Osa, thank you so much. So many gems.
My pleasure. This is so much fun.
Yeah, I value your time, and I am just so grateful to have had this moment with you and to continue to watch you take on the world by storm. It is amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. So everyone, I will be back soon. I know you guys want to know who is next, but it is always a surprise. I have a wonderful lineup of people who will join us. Guys, I have something for you too. I know you guys think I always cater to the women, but I will have something for you as well. This has been an amazing journey. I'm so excited for what is to come for myself, but also for you. So stay tuned. 2022 is going to be amazing. I don't want to put the pressure, not trying to create any anxiety, but just want us to be prepared for the amazing things that are coming our way. Thank you and see you soon.